This is Story Recap. Today, I'm going to explain a comedy fantasy film called The Change-Up. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Dave Lockwood wakes up to his twins' cries and walks groggily towards the room. He greets them affectionately and changes their diapers despite the mess his twins subject to him. Afterward, he sits on the sofa and feeds the twins, sighing warily. Later that morning, Dave heads to his office as his boss Steele asks about the merger he's working on. Dave guarantees its success, so Steele reminds him of his partnership evaluation. After Steele leaves, Sabrina, the new law associate, approaches Dave and they mildly joke about their boss. She hands David the merger files, and Dave stares at her admiringly as she walks away. When he catches his secretary's disapproving look, he awkwardly enters his office. Inside, Dave answers the phone and his best friend Mitch Planko babbles on obscenities and talks about how he fought a homeless man for a futon while David listens on patronizingly. Mitch reminds him of their night out and hangs up when his father, Mitch Sr., makes an unexpected visit. His father mutters how he was proud of Mitch for quitting school to become a commercial model. Aware he's being sarcastic, Mitch asks why he visited. Mitch Sr. informs him he's remarrying, and his fiancée requests that Mitch come, but he declines. Back at his house, Dave bathes his twins while his eldest Cara asks him to pick a butterfly, and he chooses a spotted skipperling. His wife Jamie comes in rambling about her day and urges Cara to tell Dave about being bullied at school. Cara shares the incident, and Dave advises her to resolve the matter verbally. Jamie asks Dave about their dialogue night, which he forgot about. Jamie reminds him that their counselor urged them to have a private conversation once a week, but they haven't done so for 3 months. Dave stresses that he wants to spend more time with Jamie, but that evening he cannot since he promised to meet with Mitch. Tired of arguing, Jamie agrees to postpone their dialogue night. On the way to the bar, Dave struggles to keep Mitch focused as he drives and smokes while insistently encouraging Dave to do the same. At the bar, they enjoy drinks while watching the baseball game. When Dave inquires about Mitch's ladies, Mitch enthuses about his escapades and shows him photos of Tatiana, his current intimate partner. Dave remarks how she reminds him of Sabrina, whom he admits he's attracted to. Dave laments hurrying his life and missing out on the pleasures that Mitch experiences. On the way home, Mitch says Dave's life is perfect as it is. Dave, however, states that he wants a happy-go-lucky life like Mitch's. Suddenly needing to urinate, they dash to a fountain to relieve themselves. Dave and Mitch exchange remarks on wanting each other's lives until they simultaneously declare they wish for the other's life. The clouds rumble and a blackout occurs. Soon enough, the lights come back on, so the two dismiss it and return home. In the morning, Dave wakes up but is confused to find himself in his own bedroom with Jamie nursing the babies. When he checks himself in the mirror, Mitch realizes that he's in Dave's body. Later, Dave wakes up to Mitch's incessant knocks and is puzzled to see himself in Mitch's apartment. When Dave opens the door, the two regard each other bewilderedly, seeing that they switched bodies. Dave attacks Mitch to wake himself from what he assumes is a nightmare. When Mitch fights back, Dave lets go and argues about their situation. Suddenly, Mitch recalls the wish they made last night at the fountain. The two race to the fountain, only to discover that it's been removed. They head to the district manager's office to find out where it is, but the information isn't available on the computer yet. On their way out, Dave is worried because it's the day for a crucial merger at his firm that'll determine his partnership. Mitch mentions it's also the day to film his big break movie. Seeing no other option, the two agree to pose as each other at their jobs. Before Mitch drives away, Dave reminds him to fetch Cara at her ballet class. Mitch arrives at the office dressed informally. He stops at a pantry to hoard snacks when Sabrina finds him. Mitch gives her an unprofessional comment, but assuming it's because of his nervousness, Sabrina just hands him the merger files. The firm's chairman Norin and Steele eye him disapprovingly as he arrives. Mitch prattles on with ridiculous statements when the merger's head, Kinkabe, asks him a question. Outraged at Mitch's inappropriate remarks, Kinkabe and Norin quarrel until Kinkabe declares the merger is over, angering Norin further. The two teams walk out of the room as Kinkabe threatens a lawsuit. Steele grabs Mitch, but he bluffs about a master plan to appease him. Meanwhile, Dave heads to the movie set and finds out it's a mature film. Volton, the director, immediately instructs him for the scene despite his protests. Dave acts through the shoot awkwardly but refuses when the scenario threatens his morality. However, Volton discreetly threatens him, leaving him no choice but to continue. Later, Mitch attends Kara's ballet lesson and witnesses her being bullied. Mitch asks Kara why she doesn't fight back on the way home, and she reminds him about Dave's advice to resolve it verbally. Mitch, however, advises Kara to fight back. That night, Mitch and Dave meet to discuss how the day went. Mitch confesses that the negotiation went underway, and he had to make a bluff to steal, prompting Dave to erupt. Dave then rants about how humiliated he felt during the filming and declares that it will not work. They drive to Dave's home to tell Jamie they switched and ask for her help, but Jamie dismisses them. Dave forces her to sit down to listen and urges her to ask questions that only he would know to prove they're telling the truth. Jamie obliges and asks 2 questions, both of which Dave replies incorrectly. But Mitch whispers the correct answers. Seeing he's not convincing Jamie, Dave narrates a personal and humiliating incident about her. Instead of convincing her, she's furious, believing that Dave told Mitch such a personal story. When Dave is about to go home, Mitch asks him what he should do if Jamie wants to get intimate. Dave warns Mitch away from his wife, but backtracks when Mitch confirms it's a Tuesday. Unaccustomed to having a proper meal, Mitch is preoccupied at the dinner table until Jamie directs his attention to Kara recounting a school event. Jamie and Kara try to get his attention, but end up disappointed when he makes crude remarks. At her patience end, Jamie asks him to leave, which Mitch gladly obeys. Just then, Dave receives a call from Tatiana and hurriedly calls Mitch for backup, but Mitch encourages him to go through with it. Dave claims he'll be consciously cheating on Jamie, but Mitch validates that it's not cheating because he's in Mitch's body. Soon, Tatiana bursts through the door and comes onto Dave. When he hesitates, both due to guilt and shock that Tatiana is apparently pregnant, she storms off angrily. In the bedroom, Mitch gets excited when she sees Jamie throwing her clothes from the closet. His fascination turns to disgust when Jamie sits on the toilet to loudly relieve herself. After her business, Jamie joins Mitch in the bed, but he shoos her off and tells her that he's not attracted to her. Jamie turns away, hurt by his comments. Later that evening, the twins' cries wake them, but Mitch refuses to go, making Jamie angrily throw him out of bed. Not knowing what to do, Mitch calls Dave. After complaining about Dave's family, Mitch asks about Tatiana and gets enraged when Dave tells him he ruined his usual evening with her. Dave cuts off his rant, so Mitch asks him how he feed the twins. Mitch carries the twins like a sack to the kitchen, places them on different countertops, then struggles to keep them from harm as they tangle in various mischiefs. When Mitch finally pacifies them, he tells Dave to look for the fountain tomorrow because he's had enough. The next day, Dave is back at the district office and signs a request form, only to learn that the approval might take up to 3 weeks. Dave rushes to his house to tell Mitch the news, but finds his wife crying. Jamie shares how Mitch forgot to pick up the twins from daycare and recounts Mitch telling her that he wasn't attracted to her. She asks him if he's having an affair, which Dave denies. Dave soothes his wife, saying they're just going through a rough patch, but Jamie admits they've been struggling for years. She reveals that she's miserable because Dave turns neglectful in his thirst for success. She wishes he'll be happy when he achieves his partnership because she doesn't know how to stay married if he doesn't. Before Dave can react, Mitch loudly goes out of the bathroom unclothed, ruining the moment. Later, Mitch rages at the 3-week wait for the fountain, while Dave fumes about Mitch's failure to pick up the twins. When Mitch tries to bail out, Dave threatens to cut him out of their friendship. Dave pins Mitch against the wall and advises Mitch to figure out how to stop being a quitter. From that point on, Dave lectures Mitch on being a responsible grown-up. When they arrive at the office, Sabrina informs Mitch of the merger's resumption, where Dave reacts with awe and Mitch with innuendo. Dave reprimands Mitch and then introduces himself to Sabrina as Mitch. Suddenly, Mitch gets an idea and suggests for the two to date. He rambles on, preventing them from refusing. Confused at the sudden date setup, Sabrina walks out as Mitch shuts the door after her. Dave rages for potentially getting him in trouble in his marriage and at work, but Mitch persuades him to go out with her in exchange for the mess he made with Tatiana. Dave argues, but eventually agrees when Mitch promises to get his life back on track. After Dave leaves, Mitch answers the phone and is surprised to hear his own father on the other end. When Mitch meets his father as Dave, Mitch Sr. reveals he wants Dave to convince Mitch to attend his wedding and admits that he wants him there. Mitch tells him that he should say it himself, though he comments that he believes his father thinks he's a failure. Mitch Sr. defends that Mitch has redeeming traits, though he's a quitter. Driven to prove that he's not a quitter, Mitch takes his responsibilities seriously over the next few days. At Kara's recital, he cheers proudly when Kara throws her bully down in defense. On their drive home, Jamie is shocked that Mitch advised Kara to fight back. Jamie makes a lighthearted remark about it, but firmly warns Kara not to repeat it. Kara tells Mitch she loves him, to which he responds guiltily. Later, Mitch charms Jamie in bed. He gets onto her in his usual aggression, but Jamie wants it to be affectionate. Mitch's arousal cools down, and he ends up yelling his frustrations at the sudden obligations he's stuck with. Jamie cradles him, and he appreciates the comfort he hadn't felt before. In the morning, Dave goes to the grocery store to catch up with Jamie as Mitch hasn't updated him about her. Dave asks how she's doing and feels relieved to hear that she's feeling better. The next day, Dave decides to indulge himself by enjoying the things he never got to enjoy, such as sleeping late and lazing off. Later, Mitch is in the office when Dave calls him in a panic about his date. Mitch rushes to his place to help him prepare. That evening, Dave makes small talk with Sabrina at the restaurant, but she claims she's only there because her boss told her to. Curious, Dave asks her how it was working with him, and she notes that she respects Dave and admits she used to have a crush on him. When she asks about Mitch, Dave reveals he works for Mature Films. She remarks positively, and they spend the date gorging on several desserts. Not expecting to enjoy the date, Sabrina suggests doing something they'll regret and proceeds to the tattoo parlor. Sabrina asks Dave if he's sure about his tattoo, and he happily assures her as he watches her get a tattoo between her legs. As Dave drops her off at her home, Sabrina asks if he'll call her, saying she changed her mind about it not being a date. Jamie comments on Mitch's tie in the morning and suggests he wears it to their anniversary party, where Mitch isn't invited. Jamie explains that Dave doesn't want Mitch to come because he'll embarrass him. Mitch absentmindedly affirms when Jamie reminds him of their dialogue night later. Meanwhile, Dave is skating when the district manager calls to notify him of the fountain's location. Dave expresses his gratitude but feels otherwise. On his way to see Mitch, he runs into Sabrina, who invites him to a baseball game tomorrow. Dave heads to his office and informs Mitch of the fountain's whereabouts. The two mutter their relief half-heartedly, then urge each other to go. However, Mitch hesitates and admits he wants to see through the merger to prove he's not the quitter. They agree to hold off on switching. Later that night, Mitch is working overtime for the mediation when he receives a call from Jamie, testing him if he's aware that he stood her up on their dialogue night. Jamie hangs up when he appears he has no idea and vents her despair at her husband's inattentiveness to her babysitter. The next day, Dave enjoys his date with Sabrina at a baseball game while the merger is proceeding. When Kinkabe offers them a lower price, Mitch convinces Norton into asking for a higher price with a logical but inappropriate metaphor. Norton agrees and asks for more money. Then they leave to show the other party they are serious about their decision. Suddenly, the mediator announces that Kinkabe has agreed. Meanwhile, Dave expresses his joy at the baseball game but is interrupted by the sudden downpour. Drenched in the rain, Dave leads Sabrina to wash up at Mitch's place. That evening, Mitch rambles passionately about his success on the way to the firm's party while Jamie drives off silently. At the party, Steele tells Dave's life story as an introduction. When Steele recounts Dave's achievements, Mitch sits dejectedly, aware that it's not his. Meanwhile, Dave and Sabrina are about to get intimate. She suggests they stop overthinking and do what's fun after a long day of being an adult. At that point, Steele praises Dave for loving his family over his job. Jamie sobs as she listens, and Mitch realizes that he didn't earn this. Just then, Dave notices Sabrina's many-spotted skipperling butterfly tattoo on her waist and recalls when Kara made him choose between two butterflies. Finally coming to his senses, Dave decides to go home. When Dave calls home, the babysitter informs him that Mitch is at the country club for the partnership announcement. Meanwhile, Steele announces Dave as the firm's partner. Mitch stands up, but decides it's not his life. Dave rushes inside the country club and kisses Jamie, confusing the onlookers because he's in Mitch's body. Jamie slowly realizes the truth, and Mitch shrugs, reminding her that they told her before. With both men deciding to finally switch, they race out of the party. When they arrive at the fountain's location, they hesitate when they see it's placed at the center of a crowded mall. Dave urinates at the fountain, but Mitch refuses to, feeling embarrassed. Dave growls at Mitch to just do it when a kid points out what he's doing, making the crowd focus on them. Mitch chooses that moment to confront Dave for not inviting him to his anniversary party and asks if Dave's ashamed of him. Dave admits that he was, but says he's proud of him now. Mitch loosens up after the confession and urinates just as the guards yell at them. Nothing happens at first when they wish for their life back, but when the guards are about to catch up to them, they wish for the last time just as the room turns black. Early the following day, Dave is overjoyed to wake up back in his body. He wakes up his sleepy wife and promises to quit his job to focus on their family, but Jamie stops him and says she just needs him to be present. Then he gets onto his fatherly tasks with renewed appreciation. On the other hand, Mitch wakes up up, relieved to be himself again, unaware that he has Dave's face tattooed on his back. He answers the door to Sabrina, who came for her purse and to apologize for being aggressive last night. Mitch catches on quickly and promises to make it up for her as she invites her to breakfast. Mitch arrives at his father's wedding and acknowledges his father's bride as his new mother, delighting Mitch Sr. 1 month later, at Dave and Jamie's anniversary party, Mitch starts his speech with his trademark wit, then shares how, in their childhood, Dave dreamed of being an astronaut, and Mitch wanted to sell dolphins. He says that life doesn't turn out the way they planned, but it eventually turns out better. After the toast, Dave and Mitch exchange hugs as they express their satisfaction with their lives.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.